Hello, welcome to A Dash of Love. Thank you for joining us and helping us support our guest families at the Ronald McDonald House. I am standing in historic downtown Hillsborough, North Carolina at one of the best restaurants you will ever go to, Antonia's Italian Restaurant. Owners Brian and Dana have been supporters of the Ronald McDonald House for a long time, and they're amazing people. And today they're letting us go inside just to help us learn how to make one of their signature dishes, risotto with scallops. It is absolutely delicioso. But first, we're gonna meet bar manager James, who's gonna teach us how to make a drink that actually turns purple. Then executive chef Elena and sous chef Eugene are going to teach us how to make that signature dish, and afterwards Brian is going to present us with a wine that pairs perfectly with that signature dish. It's going to be a great time. Everybody's going to have fun, and all this talk is making me hungry, so let's get cooking. Thanks again for helping us support our guest families at the Ronald McDonald House.
Hi, I'm James, the bar manager at Antonia's in Hillsborough, and today I'm going to teach you how to make the Caribbean flower cocktail. To start, you're going to want a tall glass filled with small chunks of ice. We'll start with 1.5 ounces of white rum, 1/2 ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice, 1 ounce of pineapple juice, and to finish it off, 1/2 ounce of our house-made hibiscus habanada pepper syrup. I think this is a very beautiful cocktail. It's sweet and balanced, and there's a very interesting effect of the hibiscus syrup and the acid and pineapple juice that will transform this drink from the bright red you see now to purple over time.
Hi, I'm Elena, the executive chef at Antonia's Hillsborough, and this is Eugene, my sous chef, and we're going to be making a tomato saffron risotto with seared scallops. The first step I've already done. I've washed my rice in my broth, my cooking liquid, to remove some of the starch, because that will break down at high heat when we toast it, and we want to keep that later for extra creaminess. I've got some butter and olive oil. You can use whichever you choose. It's just about flavor. Just make sure you don't burn it. So I am gonna melt my butter. And then we're gonna move on to the next step, which is il sofrito, which is when we add flavor. So I've got 2 cloves of minced garlic, about 1/4 cup of onion, and I'm gonna salt it so it breaks down real nice, releases all of that liquid, and I'm just gonna cook it until it's translucent. I don't want any caramelization. Oh, it's a beautiful sound. Ooh. A little bit of salt. Could lower my heat a little more. If you want to caramelize it, you can, but this is all about choices now. Make choices that work for you. Keeping it moving in the pan will prevent it from sticking and burning. There are a few things that if they burn, you can't save. One of them is garlic. The next step is la tostatura. We're gonna toast our rice. It's gonna give us a nice nutty flavor, but it's not really for much more than flavor. The Italians say you have to do it, so we're gonna do it. I want to make sure all my rice is coated in my fat. This is also called pearlizing the rice. Don't be afraid to take your pan off the heat. Worst thing we can do with risotto is cook with too high a heat. Don't be afraid to take it off. I'm gonna turn my stock on. You wanna cook risotto with warm broth because it's going to take longer otherwise. Not much longer, but it'll save you 5 minutes. We're about to get to my favorite part, which is il sospiro. It's when we add the wine, and it should hiss when it hits the pan. Il sospiro translates to the sigh in Italian, and I think that's really romantic. I'm gonna turn my heat up a little bit, just make sure we get that hiss. There's nothing really to burn right now. I've kept it moving enough. The other thing that's important with risotto is the kind of pan you cook this in. I wouldn't want to cook it in something like this because that rice will be piled on top of each other. The stuff at the bottom will cook faster and you'll have unevenly cooked grains. The idea with risotto is that you can taste and feel in your mouth every individual grain. Got a little bit of wine. Oh my God. Got a nice hiss. I'm not going to add any more liquid until that wine has been absorbed. There's a little bit of, I wouldn't say an argument, but a discussion among chefs about whether risotto actually has to be stirred, or if you cook it in a flat enough pot, you can just let it cook. But if it's not stirred, it's not risotto. Could be perfectly delicious, but risotto must be stirred. See how my liquid is absorbed? I'm gonna add a little bit of stock. I'm adding my broth about 4 ounces at a time. Depending on the batch size you're making, you can add it as much as a cup. We're gonna take our time. So when I can drag my spatula and the liquid doesn't flow to fill all that space, that's how we know to add more. So the starch in rice, there are 2 starch molecules for rice. First one is amylose, and the second one is amylopectin. Now, the rice types that are suitable for risotto have a higher proportion of amylopectin to them than amylose. They tend to break down and release their starch a lot easier, and that lends for a creamier risotto. Oh, we're getting there, maybe. I think, yep, almost there. Not quite, but almost. Yeah. I would like, I think, the tomato paste as well. I want to add my tomato paste early so that a little bit of the acidity has a chance to cook out. But we're not cooking on real low heat right now, so we don't have to worry about it. A little more stock first, please. Like I said, don't be afraid to pull that pan off the heat. Undercooked risotto can be saved, but overcooked cannot. And I'll take one more ladle of liquid and that tomato paste. This step is called la cottura, which just means the cooking. I need more. Yep, look at that. Yeah, just a little more. Yep, thank you. We're gonna use about 3 cups of stock. What's important, whether you're doubling this recipe, tripling it, all you need to know is the ratio. You will need at least double this broth to your rice. So I'm using a cup of rice, and I have 4 cups of stock ready to go. I might not use it all, but I might. You never know. It's a finicky beast. I think I'm gonna lower my heat a little bit. But as you can see, there's nothing sticking to the bottom of my pan. That's how I know I'm moving it enough. We're rolling. Sorry, this is the longest step. We're gonna be here for a while. This is not a lot of risotto. So I would dedicate, if you have children, have them do it, 15 minutes of stirring at least. This is a labor of love. I'll take more stock now, please. We're using arborio rice. So arborio rice overcooks very quickly. And you can see right now in the pan that I can still see all my individual grains, and my sauce is not completely I haven't reached peak creaminess. If I've overcooked the rice, I won't be able to see individual rice granules anymore, and it will break down. Those arborio rice has a very high percentage of that amylopectin, and the risk with using it is overcooking. You'll basically explode it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, but look at that. She's coming along. You can see all that starch is coming off the rice. We're getting a nice creamy consistency. This is a Venetian risotto, which is basically, there are 2 different kinds. The Venetian is the one you're gonna see most often, which is really loose. It should flow, it should fill all the space on the plate. It shouldn't be stiff. If it's mounded, if you can shape it, it's a different kind of risotto. But this is Venetian risotto. Let's see where we're at. Let's just have a little taste. Will you stir while I taste? Thank you. Highly recommend using your children. It's nice to have an extra pair of hands. It's not done. Here, you want me to take that back? Thank you. All right. Take another ladle of stock. Yeah, give me all of it. So we're looking for cooked, not crunchy, but not overdone. We still want to maintain the texture of the rice. You don't want to break it up. I'll take another ladle of stock, please. We're getting close. I'm sure somebody else, I'm sure there's an Italian grandma out there in the world who can tell that risotto's ready just by looking at it. I haven't mastered the skill yet, which should be obvious by my Italian pronunciation. That's close though. Let's try one more time. All right. We're very close. I think we can get away. One more ladle of stock and we'll be done. Not yet. Very soon. This is a very well-behaved risotto so far. They can be naughty. Trick is really just to give it the time it demands. Don't get distracted. Tell it you love it. Show it you love it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's much better. Show, don't tell.
Be tender but firm.
It needs to believe you.
Exactly.
It really does. It's got to trust. I'm very close. But I don't want to move on until the next step until I'm there, because the next step, we're going to add some fat. That's going to cool it down. Basically stop it cooking. We're going to do that off the heat, so this is when I have to finish cooking it. Can't count on it later. I think that might be it.
Yes.
I'm going to do one more taste just to make sure that my eyes are not deceiving me. Nope, it's done. It's done. So we're on to our last step of the cooking, which is to add some cold butter. You saute off that asparagus. And while I'm doing this, just going to do this off of the heat. Got a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, about 1.5 tablespoons of butter. 2 ways to do this. You can do it just by swirling the pan. But I'm going to use my spatula because there's a time and place to be lazy. And we just did all the hard work. Now, because I didn't season as I went, I gotta season now. Salt. Salt. That's it. We're done. We're gonna add some asparagus to feel like we've eaten some veggies. Some people say that risotto needs to rest. So we're gonna rest it. It's gonna hang out in the pan while he finishes the asparagus, which we're just cooking with a little vegetable oil and some salt. Bring out that nice grassy green springtime flavor, which is gonna be awesome with our scallops. Beautiful. Now, if while you rested your risotto, you think it got a little too thick, we can add a little more broth. And I think that's what we're gonna do, just a little bit. Just to remind it how much we love it. One more. There we go. This pan is nice and warm. Just gonna pour it out. And we're gonna wait for our scallops to be ready, and we're gonna put them right on top.
At this stage of the dish, what we're going to make is butter-basted scallops. Preheat your pan, a little vegetable oil, not much. And what I'm going to season this with is just a little salt. Not much at all. The salinity in the scallops is enough. And we're going to have that nice sizzle when we drop it, because what we want to do is to have a caramelization on the top of here. Nice. Oh, that. Make sure each scallop has some oil under it. Season side down. Doesn't take long. Nice high heat. What we'll look to see, it'll start to crown around the bottom, which will turn right. It'll start to turn white. And we should be getting the brown caramelization on the other side of the scallop. Doesn't take long at all. Right here, like right where the scallop and the oil, the scallop is in the oil, we'll get a crown. It'll start to turn white. And that's when we know we're close. it'll start to caramelize. As you can see, it's starting to crown now. You can take a peek under. It's starting to caramelize. We're going to get a little darker than that. Nice, rich color. I do these every night here at Antonia's. It's one of my favorite things to make here. It's always well received. This is it, caramelization on the top of the scallop. Add the butter. This is the butter for the basting. I'm gonna turn the heat off because the scallops are already half done. And what I want to do is melt my butter and get the rosemary, the butter and the garlic all infused together. And I want to keep my scallops out of the butter. I want to keep my scallops at the top of the pan. This is going to be the well that we work from. This is going to be the baster, my well for basting. You get butter in the spoon and you baste it. You just pour the butter right on top. Butter base. Just like basting a turkey in the oven. Take the liquid, put it right on each scallop. And we're going to do this till the scallop is almost done. Because scallops have to rest also. We will rest these scallops and they will finish cooking. And they'll be perfect. And you can tell your scallops are done by the sponginess or the pushback from the scallop. When you first start your scallop, it's really squish, but when it's almost done, it gets a very, like, it'll push back on your finger when you pull it, push on it. Like these are almost done. All right, the basting done. These scallops will rest. Paper towel. Tongs, not to burn your fingers. And that is how we butter baste scallops.
Beautiful scallops. Plate it however you'd like. You express your artistic side, your inner child. Jean did it like a dice block.
Yes.
I think this is a great pairing for spring. The saffron doesn't overwhelm the scallops, and everybody likes asparagus in spring. Plus, what a beautiful color. Thank you for joining us at Antonia's and welcoming us into your kitchen, and thank you for supporting the Ronald McDonald House.
My name's Brian. I'm the owner of Antonia's. Thank you for inviting us into your home. Thank you for supporting Ronald McDonald House. We've covered the cocktail that is required before we cook. We've covered the actual cooking of the meal. No meal would be complete without a little wine to go with that meal. I put a lot of thought into what we were going to pair with the scallops and risotto, and I came up with the Vecchiatore Vermentino Salento. Vermentino is an Italian grape grown in the Puglia region. Puglia, if you don't know, is the heel of the boot in Italy. So it's in the far southeastern part of Italy. The grapes get a lot of heat. The white wine in particular develops, the sugar develops quite a bit in the grape. And so what you get is a kind of a crisp white wine. It's very fruit forward. And this particular wine, out of the wines that we have on our menu, pairs the best with the scallops or any white fish really. So once you have your dinner cooked and you've had your cocktail, open this bottle and pour yourself a glass and enjoy the whole dinner experience together. Thank you again.